5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. Strap in. You're about to listen to the hottest sounds in the mix. In the mix.
Greetings on this Thursday night. Welcome to another episode of Meeting the Conversations. I was going to say the title of our book, but Conversations with Whitney and Dwayne. My sis Whit is away doing some personal time, but she will be calling in tonight. She will be in the building via Skype. We will be talking with her, but in the meantime, in between time, it's all me and God and my brother Cruz. We in the building tonight. We ready to put on another episode, another show, give you some of you guys some of this energy, having great conversation once again. Here it is. So the announcements, we just going to jump right into the show. The book, Meeting the Authentic You, the inspiration for this podcast show, is called Meeting the Authentic You. Check it out. Barnes & Nobles, any online book retail store where you could get this book. I guarantee you, I promise you this, as I continue to say week in and week out, is a book that you definitely want to make sure that you get your hands on. I promise you, it's something inside of here that will challenge you to take a deeper look at yourself and really help you inspire and meet, rather, your true and authentic self. So you want to make sure you get your hands on this book, man. This book has been an inspiration to so many individuals. Actually, I've been encouraging all principals, teachers, counselors, anybody working with youth or young adults to get this copy of this book inside of their hands and get it to their kids, because we believe that this book and these stories that Whitney and I put together will really impact and make a huge difference. It will really help combat a lot of these things that's going on out here in the world at this particular time and across the world, rather, not just here in this country, rather. You know, kids deal with themselves. And I think that we're not having enough conversations or valuing conversations at this time so we can begin to combat some of this stuff. So make sure you get this copy of this book, Meeting the Authentic You. I promise you, this 40-day inspirational piece will be able to meet that child or that young adult and even some of these parents right where you are and begin to change your perspective and give you some hope and some inspiration to make some better choices so we can live more in peace instead of some of this violence that's going on out here in the world today. There it is. Check out our YouTube page, Conversations with Whitney and Dwayne. We definitely want you guys to subscribe to our page. We need you guys' support. We need you guys, following. We want you guys to subscribe to us. If you are unable to catch our show live tonight, we love for you to actually go on to YouTube and check us out. You can watch the show live on YouTube. Check us out on our Convos with Whitney and Dwayne YouTube page. You can follow us also on Instagram, Conversations with Whitney and Dwayne on our Instagram page, to follow all of the latest updates. Some of the skits that we upload after the show. Tune in, rock with us, follow us on Instagram, but most importantly, make sure you please subscribe to our YouTube page. Cruz, let the people know what's going on. Show the people the picture of my hats, my T-shirts, or whatever it is that we got for the people, man. We in the studio live tonight, right? I got my hats up here. I got something for you guys right here, man. The Vibe With Me movement is spreading. I keep saying it, and I'm gonna be a broken record every week. It's spreading. It's doing the numbers that it's supposed to be doing. Every morning, I'm giving you guys a video. I'm giving you guys apparel, and I just want to, again, each week I like to shout out a location of everybody who's actually tuning in and rocking and vibing with me each week. This week, I want to shout out Missouri. They contacted me out in Missouri. They told me that they wanted me to they want to interview me, man. They want this vibe. Shout out to Texas. Shout out to everybody in these different locations apart in this country and around the world who's actually vibing with D Graham and my morning videos, man. I'm extremely grateful. I'm thankful. I appreciate the reposts. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the tags. I appreciate the DMs. I appreciate the testimonies. Everybody who's rocking and vibing with me every morning, I appreciate you guys. Everybody who's purchased a hat, a shirt, a sweatshirt, who's actually decided to now give to this movement, what I like to call a ministry, but it's a movement. You have the luxury and the opportunity to actually fund, or rather support and give to some of this movement by making some donations to my Cash App. Yes, it is. I'm asking for support. Cash App, PayPal, Circle, whichever one you have. please contact me, because all that money is actually funding these visions, whether it's the studio time here for this show, apparel to get it on the people, whether it's the books, our next book that we got coming out, or our conference, Go Get It. We definitely appreciate all of the support that we're receiving at this particular time. Next up on the list, our item is the Go Get It Women's Conference. My sis Whit, our 3rd annual Go Get It Women's Conference. Let the people see what's going on. We got a video for them. November 3rd. That is the date for the Women's Conference, the Women's Go Get It Conference. We want you guys to tune in. Check us out. Contact my sis Whit. We definitely need your support for that as well. Tickets are sold on Eventbrite. We have what it is that you need. Roxy Digital will be in the building. We will be in the building. 2018. 103.9. Roxy Digital, she will be in the building. Shout out to Roxy. The theme for this conference is Celebrate You. Tickets are going on sale. People are purchasing their tickets. Coming on out November 3rd, 2018. The Women's Empowerment Conference, the Go Get It, the 3rd annual. My sis Whit and her sis LaShawn, they have put together this phenomenal Women's Empowerment Conference called Go Get It. And we need you to support this conference this year. Get your tickets. Early bird gets the worm. Early bird special, $75 for your ticket. The cost of the conference is $100, but we got the early bird special. Make sure you are in the building. And guess what? I am one of the speakers at this Women's Empowerment Conference, and you do not want to miss being in the building for what it is that I'm coming to bring that day. The conference, oh my God, I can't wait. I'm going to talk about the dangers of disconnection and the benefits of being connected to God. I'm going to talk about the dangers. So make sure you get your tickets. I don't care where you're from and what part of the world you at. Make sure you get your tickets and be in the building, because I promise you that day you're going to hear something you never heard before that's going to transform you, bless you, change your life, and take you to another realm. So make sure you get your tickets for that Women's Empowerment Conference called Go Get It. It's the 3rd year. There it is. We done covered the Vibe With Me movement. We done covered the Go Get It conference. Check this out. Here's my social media handle. If this is your first time tuning in to this podcast live, D.Graham3 on Instagram, and Mr. Graham is God's Child on Facebook. That is my social media handle. You want to make sure that you are tuned in with me. I promise you, I will give you some inspiration, some motivation, some thought-provoking, some transformative, something that's going to make you cry. I will speak to your soul. I promise you that each and every day. I'm not bragging or boasting. I humbly, just confidently believe in my ability to do what it is that God gifted me to do, which is empower the people, inspire the people, connect the people back to God. So I promise you, follow me on social media of Instagram, D.Graham3, and Mr. Graham is God's Child on Facebook. Those are my social media handles at this particular time. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody who does rock with me on social media. Every Monday now, we have our Monday Morning Glory. That is our Monday morning prayer call for 15 minutes every Monday. We are tuned in every Monday for 15 minutes from 7 o'clock to 7:15 on the East Coast, New York. That's where we at. That's where we giving up this energy and this vibe. So if you ever want to start your Monday and your week off with some prayer, Whitney and I have been doing this once again for 5 years and counting. And we ain't stopping as long as God give us the health and the strength to keep it going. Well, we are praying. Once again, shout out to the 35, 45 plus people who tune in with us every Monday morning for prayer. We thank you all for tuning in with us, and we pray that the prayer calls have been a blessing to you, and we pray that you tell other people about this prayer call or our prayer call so we can continue to pray with you, for you, and we can hold one another, keep each other up, hold each other up, and keep each other inspired to continue to do our best to live this thing that we call life, because lately it just seems like it's getting darker, badder, worse, more challenging, and people are experiencing hopelessness and entertaining thoughts of suicide. So it's nothing wrong with a little bit of prayer. So make sure you tune in and rock with us. Make sure you tune in and rock with us every Monday morning is what I would love for you to do. That's our Monday morning glory. That's our announcements. We're going to do a spirit check since my sister Whit is not in the building at this particular time. Whit, I'm waiting on your phone call or call in. Whenever you're ready to call in, I'm ready for you. And check this out. My spirit on tonight is excited. I'm excited. I'm hopeful tonight. I'm looking at people who've been putting in the work, who've been sticking with whatever it is that they believed in, and I'm watching certain people experience their breakthroughs. And that's hopeful. That's exciting for me because each day I get up and I commit myself to the things that I believe that God called me to do. So I'm excited at this particular time. My spirit is in excitement. It's excited for what's to come, regardless of all the things that's going on in the world that's trying to discourage me and distract me and make me doubt that something new is not going to enter and usher into my life. I still believe that God ain't done. So tonight, my spirit is excited tonight. I would love to hear how my sis Whit spirit is, but I'm pretty sure she's excited as well. She's out in Florida, Miami. She's turning up, having a great time. Enjoy yourself. Continue to party and have a good old time. Okay, there it is. So we're going to get into the what's going on segment right now. The what's going on segment at this particular time of the show. What is going on? Now, normally in this section right here, what we like to do is we like to feature somebody, showcase somebody, honor somebody, recognize somebody, show our love to somebody, make people aware of somebody. But tonight, but as a matter of fact, before I get into that, you know what? If you're doing some positive stuff in the community, right? Contact us, send us a DM, send us the instant message, reach out to us, call into the show, give us a phone call. Let us know what you're doing out in the community. And you just may be featured on our What's Going On segment of the show. We want to be able to feature you and let more people know what's going on with you so that way you can have more following, more support. You just never know. Sometimes that, when we cross promote one another, we might help each other get to those new levels that can give us access and just the blessing of being able to serve and be a blessing to more people. So let us know what you're doing out in the community. And I promise you, we'll be able to let, the world know in this What's Going On segment, what's going on with you and what you're doing. But tonight, I feel led to feature God. That's what I feel led to do on tonight. I feel led to feature God on tonight. I feel led to say that what's going on is God. Because when God is going on, things just start to come together faster and better than ever. And when God ain't going on, ain't nothing coming together, and things just get worse and horrible and bad, and we find ourselves feeling weak and powerless and just disconnected. So tonight, I just want to give a shout out to God in this What's Going On section. I want to say, God, we thank you for another day where you kept us and you sustained us. God, you kept some of us for 40 years, 42 years, 45 years, 46 years, 50 years, 30 years, 28 years. However old we are, God, those are the days and years that you've kept us. So today, we want to just say thank you. I know sometimes we don't acknowledge you because we get so consumed in relationships and work and bills and problems and pain that we sometimes don't acknowledge you as much as we should. But tonight, in our What's Going On section, we're going to honor, we're going to feature, we're going to showcase God's grace, God's mercy, God's love. And tonight, we just want to give a shout out to God on tonight for keeping us another day. We got kept on the roads. We didn't have no accidents, some of us. We didn't get hurt, harmed. Nothing happened to our children on today. So we are highlighting and we just thanking God on tonight. And God is what's going on tonight. I want to put God on your mind tonight. I don't want you thinking about the job when you're already off work. I don't want you talking about people who ain't even caring about you. I want you to be thinking about how good God been to you in spite of you not being good to yourself. So that's what we're going to do on tonight. That's the What's Going On segment. And now we're going to get into the topic of the show. I'm ahead of schedule, but I'm feeling good, actually. So let's get into it. Once again, Meeting the Authentic You, that's the book. I want you guys to get this book, man. I need everybody to get a copy of this book. I don't care what's going on. I want you to get a copy of this book. Get this book in your hands. I promise you, it's something inside of this book that will transform you and bless you and give you something to think about that you 9 times out of 10 have never, ever thought about. I need you to get this book inside your hands. So, with that being said, the topic for tonight's conversation is learning how to live with the judgment. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a good topic of conversation tonight. Learning how to live with the judgment. Oh, that's so good. That's so good because many of us sometimes become so consumed and so stressed out about the judgment that people are passing on us that we don't know how to live with it. And we find ourselves kind of just defending ourselves, right? Or being defensive or being critical or being kind of just as malicious and spiteful as some of the individuals who are talking about us, because we don't know how to live with their judgment. We don't know how to live with how they're feeling about us. So we want to have a conversation tonight, and we're using our book to guide us into a conversation. So once again, as we get into tonight's show, I want to give you guys the call-in number because I want to hear from you guys. Tonight's number, 914-969-6499. The other number is 718-705-4959. Those are the numbers to call in tonight. I want to hear from you guys. We are talking about learning how to live with the judgment. Learning how to live with the judgment. That's what we're talking about from our book, Mean Authentic You. We want you guys to tune in tonight. Make sure you get this copy of this book if you don't have this copy. If you are in this country or in other parts of the world and you are vibing with Whitney and Dwayne, I need you guys to get a copy of our book so you can participate in these conversations. We want to hear from you. We don't want you to feel ashamed or embarrassed or feel like you can't call in because you don't want us to know what's really going on. So you rather watch us have a conversation about what it is that we wrote or what other people are sharing with us, so you kind of just want to stand by, which is fine. I'm not knocking you for wanting to stand by and watch what's going on, but I guarantee you and I promise you that if you tune in and you call in and you have a conversation with us, more times than not, you will have a new perspective. You will have a new thought. Something else will be, start to resonate in your mind and put you on a new path and learn how to deal with whatever it is that the topic of conversation is that we're covering. So on tonight, once again, the topic of conversation is learning how to live with the judgment. The numbers are 914-969-6499 or 718-705-4959. Those are the numbers. Here we go. We're going to get into the topic of conversation. Learning how to live with the judgment. I'm going to read a piece from the book, and this is going to be our guide to our conversation. Here it is. Isn't it peculiar how we make mistakes doing things we know we shouldn't do and continue to do them? Yet we find ways to place judgment on others. What is our problem? Has no one ever brought this to our attention? How many times a day do you judge someone? Be honest. You've never thought about it, have you? I can assure you, if we make a conscious effort to be mindful of the moments we get caught throwing stones, we may be able to lessen the vicious, destructive cycle of judgment. I suggest starting there as opposed to telling someone else not to be judgmental. But since this conversation is about learning how to live with the judgment, I will direct our attention to those who want to learn how to live with it rather than lose a sense of identity because of it. Here we go. Here's 3 things I want you guys to write down because we got some assignments on tonight. I need some participation. Write down a list of things that you like, love, and dislike about yourself. Let me say that one more time. Write down a list of things that you like, love, and dislike about yourself. Number 2, examine what you have written down and ask yourself, can I accept what I see and begin to work on those parts of yourself that you deem necessary to change? Let me say that again. Examine what you have written down and ask yourself, can I accept? That's the biggest question in part 2. Can I accept what I see and begin to work on those parts of myself that I deem necessary to change? And then number 3, accept all the things that you have just written down. So let me go through 1, 2, and 3 again one more time. Write down a list of things that you like, love, and dislike about yourself. Examine what you have written down and ask yourself, can I accept what I see? And begin to work on those parts of yourself that you deem necessary to change. So number 2, if you don't like the things that you have written down about yourself once you examined yourself, are you willing to make those changes? Are you willing to make those? Can you accept how your life will be if you don't change them or if you do change them? Because I want us to have a conversation tonight about these 3 things that I just listed as our participatory questions or just reflections in order for us to really learn how to live with judgment. Because I think that sometimes many people are really not fixated or focused rather on pursuing their goals and dreams and aspirations or reinventing themselves. Maybe let's go with that language. Reinventing themselves or knowing how to become another version of themselves because we don't know how to live with the judgment that people are making of us or the judgment that we're using on ourselves. We're condemning ourselves for not, finishing what we started. We're condemning ourselves for relationships failing and not working out. We're condemning ourselves for whatever it is that we may have or may not done in regards to our family. And we're living with judgment more than we're living with the thoughts that we can reinvent ourselves. We can evolve. We can transform. We can dream again. We can create something else again, even though what we thought we wanted and once pursued didn't work out. We still have the ability, because of the breath that we still have in our bodies and the health and strength that we have left, we still have the ability to reinvent ourselves. So tonight, let's have a conversation. I want to talk to somebody on tonight who's courageous and brave enough to talk about how you have been handling living with judgment or not being able to live with the judgment. Still struggling with wondering and worrying how people feel about you, what they're thinking about you. That in worrying and being consumed about what they're thinking, you're not really living. You're really not evolving into that better version of yourself. You're struggling. You're doing the bare minimum. You're going along to get along. But you're not really evolving and transforming into that better version of yourself that you have the ability to transform into. I want to have a conversation with you tonight about that, because I believe that once we transform, once we learn how to accept that, whether it's judging ourselves or living with the judgment of others, we will then learn how to be able to become unstoppable. We will then learn how to be more consistent with whatever it is that we desire or believe that we are supposed to be doing with our lives, instead of just existing, instead of just struggling and not really living, instead of just going along and just fulfilling routine more than we're fulfilling purpose. Let's have a conversation. Once again, the telephone numbers to call in tonight are 914-969-6499 or 718-705-4959. The topic of conversation tonight is learning how to live with the judgment. How have you been living with the judgment? Are you doing well with how people are viewing you and how you've been viewing yourself, or are you not doing so well? How are you handling what you said about you or what others are saying about you? Are you progressing, or are you becoming a worse version of yourself? Who are you today as a result of the judgment that we all cast upon each other? Who are you today? Have you developed a thick skin in order for you to deal with of what the shame and the embarrassment or the resentment or the guilt or the disappointment or the rejection or the abandonment, whatever the judgment is, whatever the emotional or mental state is? How are you becoming, and who are you becoming? I want to hear from you tonight. The challenging part about this show that I realized a couple of weeks ago, with why sometimes people struggle with vibing with us on this show, is because many people don't want to take that honest, deep look at themselves. Many people have conditioned themselves to be fans and followers more than transforming into amazing versions of themselves and then becoming leaders, living the best life. That's a song that they got out today. I'm living my best life. Ain't going back and forth with you. I'm living my best life. So that's a song, right? That's out right now by Lil Duval and Snoop and, a bunch of other individuals, right, who are singing this song. But are you really living your best life right now? Or are you living, or rather existing and struggling in the judgment? What's going on? So talk to D Graham tonight. I want to hear from y'all tonight, because y'all going to make me turn it up another notch. I'm trying to be calm and kind of reserved, but I'm about to go into a whole nother realm, a whole nother mode, in order to try to pull you out of that familiarity and pull you out of that comfort zone, pull you out of being stuck and stagnant, pull you out of worrying about how you're going to be perceived But if you really communicate who you are, what you believe in, what you going after, and you don't want to let everybody know because you still struggling with being laughed at. You still struggling with what they going to think and feel, and who else going to talk about you, and how they going to tell you that that's not going to work, and how they going to remind you of all the times that you messed up and you didn't do this, that, and the third, and who you used to be and what you used to do. And because you don't want to hear none of that stuff, you rather stay safe. You know, Steve Harvey talked about, you know, in order for you to live kind of like your best life, this is a paraphrase, you know, you're going to have to jump. And many people are not jumping because they rather stay safe. And that's a choice that many people, I get it. You're okay with being safe, but you're not soaring. And then you find yourself talking more about everybody else than you find yourself soaring. Well, today, let me say this. I'd rather soar than be safe. I'd rather people talk about who I used to be while becoming who I'm about to be. Let me say that again. I'd rather people talk about who I used to be than me not soar. I'd rather that. You could have those previous chapters of who I used to be. Have fun with it. Talk about what I used to do. Write a book about it. Get money off my pain. Get money off my mistake. Get money off my shame. Get money off of the people that I hurt. But I guarantee you, I'm going to soar. I'm going to stay consistent. I'm going to rise above all of the judgment, whether it's the times that I judge myself harshly and too hard, or the judgment that people placed on me because I didn't meet their expectation, because I didn't live the way they wanted me to live. You know, I became the worstest person in the whole wide world the moment I stopped giving them whatever it is that they wanted. But I was the best thing since sliced bread when they got what they wanted out of me. I'm willing to live with all of that judgment today and soar instead of being safe because I'm worried about what they're going to say about me. Where are you at today? So I want to hear from you tonight. Call in. Please, somebody talk to me tonight. 914-969-6499, 718-705-4959, because I promise you, tonight's conversation just might set you free. Tonight's conversation just might put you on a path that might set you up for the rest of your life. A conversation, because that's where all this stuff starts. Now let me give some of y'all guys, you know, a little biblical history, a little biblical education. You know, in the book of Genesis, the scriptures say that God said, let us make man and woman in our image. That means that God was having a conversation with somebody, whoever he was talking to, about who he was going to create. So that means that even God knew the power of a conversation. And as a result of the conversation, he starts to create. So don't minimize or downplay the power of having a conversation, because sometimes when you have a conversation with somebody, we introduce each other to the depths of wisdom that is laying dormant inside of all of us. We introduce each other to the spirit of God that's inside of all of us, but sometimes that spirit and that wisdom and that vision that is inside of us never comes out because we never have a conversation. We can't seem to shake and get past the judgment. We can't shake and get past the past. We can't seem to shake and get past this character that we have created, who we know is really not us. So how can we start to break free from that? How? I'm going to read questions 1, 2, and 3, or reflections. Write down a list of things that you like and love and dislike about yourself. Examine. We got a call?
They couldn't take the show.
Oh, there she go. Hey, Whit.
They couldn't take the show. No, they didn't take the show.
Hey, Whitney, how you doing? You live?
Sorry. Where do you want to sit down?
Hey, Whit, you live?
Oh, right here. Oh, hey. I'm on?
Yes, you are. You live. How you doing?
I'm sorry. You know, I'm calling from, I'm in Florida.
How you doing, Whit? She's in Florida. Everybody.
Hey.
Hey, what's going on, Whitney's friend?
What's the topic that you guys are on tonight?
Learning how to live with the judgment, Whit. That's what we're talking about tonight.
Learning how to live with the judgment.
That's what we're discussing on tonight. The judgment of Judging yourself or learning how to live with the judgment of others? That's what we're discussing tonight, Whit.
That's a deep conversation, bro. You know, we're going to have to do a part 2. But learning how to deal with the judgment. Learning how to live with the judgment.
Yeah, because
how do you do that?
You know, we all of us, whether we want to admit it or not, have periods when we're very judgmental. And many people do not know how to live with that. Many of us exist and struggle, and we talk about how people are judging us and faulting us and not supporting us and in their feelings with us more than we're talking about how to live with it. We don't know how to live with it, so we're trying to have a conversation to encourage people to learn how to live with the judgment, whether it's the judgment that we place on ourselves for not finishing what we started, being kind of hard on ourselves for mistakes that we've made, or whatever reasons or causes for judging ourselves, right? So that's the reason for the conversation, and learning how to deal with people's judgment of us. Because everybody has their opinion of how they think we're supposed to be. And when we're not being how people feel we're supposed to be, there's a level of judgment. And sometimes the judgment isn't always negative. Sometimes it's a positive, it's a constructive critique. Sometimes it's a negative one. But we have to learn how to live with all of the above. The negative ones, the positive ones, and the ones that we place on ourselves in order for us to learn how to transform, to soar. That's what we're discussing tonight, Whit.
And that's good, because I was just telling Ms. Ricard, she said, what judgment? And I said, like Dwayne said, the judgment of, people's judgment of us, the judgment of ourselves and how we see ourselves, how do we live with that judgment? You know what I mean? And I think, too, it's about you choose to live with it or how you choose to handle it. It's all about choices, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's all about perspective. And we always talk about perspective and choices you make, but it's real, because the thing is that you can allow, how can I say? It depends on who, it also depends on whose opinion it is, too, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That makes a significant impact. Depends on, I know you probably can hear a lot of background noise, but it depends on, who's, whose judgment, who's making that judgment call. I can't really be here, but I definitely want to do a part 2. But it's all about choices, about perspective. You have a choice to live with that judgment, but how do you learn how to live with the judgment? Being good with you. Don't you would think that too?
Yeah, I think that spiritually we have to be willing to get to a place where the visions, the goals, the dreams, our connection with God, who we love, who loves us, who has our best interests at heart, becomes the inspiration and the motivation for living with it. Because if that isn't the motivation and the inspiration for us, we will never live. We will just exist. And our day-to-day will consist of conversations about who's judging us and the judgment that we place on ourselves. So to your point about learning how to live with it, we learn how to live with it by being good with ourselves and being thankful and grateful for those who have embraced us, who have embraced and accepted and loved all of us, instead of us trying our best to be how somebody else wants us to be. And when we're not being how somebody else wants us to be, we don't know how to live with the judgment. It's like we transform into versions of ourselves that we were never supposed to be, all because of somebody else's judgment. Many people are losing themselves and letting themselves go, or rather becoming versions of themselves that they don't even like. They're not even pleased with, all because of somebody else's judgment. I mean, this is a deep conversation, because we can go into the various different things that people are doing in order for it, because they have not accepted themselves. It's under the guise of them wanting to improve themselves and look better, but inside it's still an emptiness. It's still in brokenness. And this isn't a judgment. It's an observation. And in some people's truth, it's a testimony that even after committing themselves to, whether it was tattoos, whether it was, getting Botox, whether it was getting, butt implants, whether it was getting, breast implants, whether it was, changing skin tone, whatever it was, they still felt like something was missing, something was off, they still didn't love themselves. So sometimes because constantly being judged and scrutinized and criticized, that becomes the inspiration. And I think that that's the wrong inspiration, because the inspiration should be to become who you are, not become somebody you aren't, because you don't know how to live with the judgment.
That's good, Dwayne. I don't know if you hear a lot of stuff on the background
I hear it all, but it's all
on
good.
the boat, but I definitely want to do a part 2 of this because I think it's very crucial for us to keep talking about this because some people can't even live with the judgment. They take their lives. You know what I'm saying? So much pressure on
That's
it.
good.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a really good topic that we need to further discuss.
Right.
So I definitely want to do a part 2 next week. But I'm going to be out because I can't really hear. But you're saying some good stuff, bro. So,
It's all good, Whit.
I wanna
They
say
hear you.
Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thank you, DJ Cruz, for, engineering, doing all that great stuff. Wifey, if she's there, what's up?
She in the
I'm
building.
out.
I'll talk to you later, Whit. Thanks for
No
calling
problem.
in.
All right.
Thanks for Skyping in.
Yeah.
So check it out.
All right, you guys have a good time tonight? Yeah.
So check it out. Whit brought in a powerful point to the conversation tonight, man. She talked about how sometimes the judgment becomes so overwhelming that it puts people in the space of thinking about suicide. So I'm gonna tone it down real quick because that's such a touchy topic. That she's right. You know what I mean? She's right. It is rough. It is tough when every day you just constantly feel like you're being judged. You're not being loved. You're not being accepted. And you think that your freedom is in taking your life. You think that your freedom is in taking someone else's life. And I just think that it's healthy for us to have a conversation about that. The pressure is a lot. The pressure is a lot. Depression is a lot. Despair is a lot. Anxiety is a lot. Loneliness is a lot. Being the go-to person is a lot. Not knowing what to do all the time is a lot. These things that we all deal with at one time or another, or sometime all at the same time. And we don't always make the right choice. So it's kind of like the moment you don't make the right choice, or even when you do make the right choice, you still got to live with the judgment of what somebody else thinks and feels about a decision that you made, whether it was right or wrong. And that's a lot. That is a lot. So tonight, I want to thank Whit for calling in and giving that perspective, man, because I think that is one of the most critical, most powerful perspectives to this conversation of how sometimes we don't know how to learn how to live with the judgment. Because if we knew how to live with it, then those who entertain the thought of suicide, and those, unfortunately, rest in peace to those who actually went through with it and impacted their families by not being here anymore, maybe they didn't know how to live with it, whether it was the judgment that they put on themselves or the judgment of others, or both at the same time. And that's a lot to deal with. So tonight, if you're feeling pressure, you're feeling depression, you're feeling stress, you're feeling judged, you're feeling like nobody understands you and nobody gets you, call in. Let's have a conversation. I'll even pray with you tonight. I want to hear from you tonight if that's where you are at this particular time. 914-969-6499 or 718-705-4959. Topic of conversation, once again, from our book, Meeting the Authentic You, is learning how to live with the judgment. It's not easy. It's very hard. It's really difficult. It's challenging. But it's doable when you connect it to the right people, when you have the right mindset, when you have the right vision, when you have the right spiritual connection. You can live with that judgment. As a matter of fact, not only live with it, you can use the judgment as more inspiration and more material in order for you to materialize whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. That judgment can become, testimony. It can become power. It can become more strength. It can become the thing that takes your life to another level. It can become your next million, your next billion, your next business, your next 30 employees. That judgment can become the very thing that blesses so many people's lives when you learn how to live with it. We got a caller on the line. Who's calling in? Thank you so much for calling in. Who's on the line?
Kiana's on the line.
Hey, Kiana, how you doing? Thank you for calling in. What are your thoughts if you've been tuned in with us about learning how to live with the judgment?
Yeah, I've been listening, and
Billion.
I guess what I was thinking as I was listening, who you speak is, I think I've been on both sides right now. I'm at a place where, I'm not saying that it doesn't get to me sometimes, but I'm in a place finally where, people's perceptions or judgments of me don't bother me as much as they used to. And that was because I was so doubtful of who I was. So I thought, like, the people's opinions of me and their judgment made me, like, that either that was who I was forever. So it created me to make labels for myself, like, their perception of me. I could never change that. Or, I became, like, if it was somebody I disappointed. But as I, start knowing who I was and getting stronger in my faith, judgments don't get to me as much. But what I can say, I'm still critical on myself. And that's something that, you said do an exercise. What is one thing, that I don't like that I do? And I'm very critical of myself. And that's something that I have to, be mindful of, because it can stagnate you. So what do you think about that?
You just spoke to one of the paragraphs inside of the inspiration that I'll read. It says, I can say my moments of mental, emotional, and spiritual freedom came to me when I accepted all of me in spite of others' assessments. Today I accept I cannot always cross all of my T's or dot all of my I's. And I will no longer allow ridicule, judgment, and high expectations to hinder my ability to live. So, you just spoke to what we actually wrote inside of this inspiration. When we learn how to accept all of us in spite of other people's assessments and our own assessments and our own judgments, we learn that it's okay, that we don't have to always cross every T and dot every I, and that the ridicule and the judgment and the high expectations don't have to hinder us in our ability to still live. Because when we allow those spaces to impact us the way that they have for those of us who've been in the space that you just articulated, we find ourselves becoming somebody that we never were supposed to be. We find ourselves being harder on ourselves than we should. And then we find ourselves in the space that you now find yourself as you now transition out, where it's a process where you go from being judgmental to being critical. And it's like, okay, that's it. Some would suggest, well, that's natural because we're human. But if being judgmental and critical has me not being able to live, then I want to do my best to do away with this so I can live. Because I don't want to just continue to exist and struggle and allow those spaces to shape me and mold me into something that I wasn't supposed to be. And as I said earlier, I'm safe in this judgment, in this criticalness, in my routine, but I'm not soaring because I'm not evolving and transforming into another version of myself. So that's my thought and my reflection to what you just shared. And I thank you for calling in to share that powerful perspective, because somebody just may be in that space. Somebody may be in a space where they're saying, I allowed what other people thought about me to kind of become me. And I remained a prisoner to that space until I started to except me, even though I still struggle with being critical of me. But I don't allow what they say about me to impact me to the degree that it used to impact me. And I thank you for calling in to share that powerful perspective. I think that that's great observation. I think that that's special and phenomenal spiritual awareness. And I think that you have some tools to continue to exit out of that space of being critical of self for however long you find yourself being critical of yourself when being critical of self. I know it sounds like I said the same thing over and over again, but I didn't, because it's a process, because you find yourself being critical, but then you find yourself being critical for lengthy periods of time. So you know that you have this issue, but then when you face with a circumstance, it's how long am I being critical of myself? And that's the danger of being critical and being critical for lengthy periods of time. So that becomes even more clearer now that I worded it that way. So I don't want to be critical for 4 hours when I know that I got this issue of being critical. Because those 4 hours I can be being more constructive rather than critical. I can be more of a critique of what it is that I could do rather than being critical of what I didn't do. How long am I being critical of myself? And that's the danger of being. So, thank you so much for that perspective. You got some more that you want to say in regards to that point?
Not really. I guess, more I would say for anybody that's listening, just really kind of dig down deep to kind of think about realize that most people that have a lot to say about you and are critical for you, it has more to do with them than you. That they don't really like things. They're not really happy with their own skin, so instead of owning that, they kind of project that on other people. So that's one thing that I realized, like, this got to do with me, this got to do with you. So, just know that, and just know who, just keep exploring to find out who God has made you critical for. And the more you find that out, the less and less you'll be impacted by others and even yourself.
That's good.
You'll be able to be moving forward.
That's good. So on that note, you just ushered us into the final 10 minutes of the show, where I have to bring home, the importance of strengthening that spiritual connection in order for us to embrace our authentic selves. Because it's impossible to be authentic without connection. Without connection, we will find ourselves gravitating towards people who we make our God. And when we make other individuals our God, their judgment becomes our guide. And that's what we can't continue to afford to happen the older we become. We can't afford to allow putting somebody else, or rather making somebody else our God, because we're refusing to make time to maintain or establish and maintain our spiritual connection. We have to develop that connection, because in that connection it allows us and it molds us and transforms us into being our authentic self. That even in my moments of making a mistake or not handling the situation the way I may have wanted to, or the way others may thought that I should have, I still can be free and not be bound to the judgment. Okay, I didn't handle it that way. I'm not staying a prisoner to what you thought or what I thought I should have did for 5 years. I'm going to be in this moment maybe for 15 minutes or a half an hour, contemplating, wrestling, struggling, crying, going through it, but I'm not going to stay here for 5 years. I'm going to stay here for a half an hour. So I learned how to be free from the judgment rather than being a prisoner to the judgment when I strengthen my connection. So when I'm not spiritually connected to the God of my understanding, I find myself making somebody else's judgment my guide. Not my God, but my guide. Their judgment guides me into paths that I never was supposed to be on, because I'm worried about pleasing them. So strengthen the connection. Strengthen your connection with the God of your understanding, and I guarantee you that you won't have to second guess yourself when it's time to make a decision for yourself, or you won't have to deal with whatever it is that they're thinking about what you should be doing based on how they feel, because they're not your God and they're not your God. So here's why it's important to have a copy of this book, because these kind of conversations actually begin to help you make sense out of what just may be imprisoning you, what may be holding you captive. Because many people, as I like to say this all the time, we're not having conversations like this in the bar. We're not having conversations like this in the club. We're not having conversations like this on the block. We're not having conversations like this at the job. We're not having conversations like this sometimes even at church or the mosque. We're not having conversations like this rarely or really at all. So sometimes when you are fortunate and blessed to have conversations like this in forums like this, it really gives you a new perspective. It gives you a new understanding. It gives you a fresh lens in order to see what you kind of have not been able to look at with a good eye. So get a copy of this book, y'all. I'm telling you, I'm not just trying to plug the book. I'm trying to use the book as your new diary, as your new journal, as your new Bible to help you enter into an authentic relationship with yourself and the God of your understanding if you are a person who believes in a higher power. Because without it, you find yourself never learning how to live with judgment. And then you find yourself getting old, becoming somebody you wasn't supposed to be, never fulfilling purpose. And then on the side of pain, on the side of depression, on the side of hopelessness, on the side of despair, on the side of being somebody that you never was supposed to be, all because you refuse to be connected to the God who created you, to the mysterious force who formed you. You refuse to do that because the people that surround you, they don't even want you talking about stuff like this. And many of us know that we have people that's like that in our lives, that the moment we start talking about stuff like this, they ain't trying to hear it. They not in the mood. They rather watch somebody else who will entertain them and that will keep them bound to the judgment, bound to the darkness, bound to the pain, bound to anything and everything that will not help them live. And that's what you no longer want to be connected to. And that's not about being perfect. That's just about perfecting the discipline in order for you to operate and perform and function in a new vision for your life. And that way you can start to soar instead of being safe, where you never really get to live. And when we have these conversations, Whitney and I, what we're trying our best to do is help you live. Meet the authentic you. Develop a deeper connection with the God of your understanding. And then live a life of purpose where you now live the rest of your life blessed. As the song says, I'm living my best life. Hey, ain't going back and forth with you. I'm living my, and that's what you want to be able to sing for the rest of your life. That I'm living my best life, not my stress life. I'm living my best life, not my stress life. I'm living my best life, not my stress life. But I won't be able to live my best life if all I'm talking about is my stress. And the people that I'm talking to, they got to top my stress. They got, you had a bad day, they had a worse day. Those are the people that you do not want to continue to have in your immediate circle. Now, don't get me wrong. Every day won't be a great, grand day, a phenomenal day, a victorious day. Some days are rough and some days are hard, and we do need somebody that we can talk to. But every day, you talking about how hard it was, and they listening, and now they got to top your hard day with a hardest day. No, that's not the kind of circle that you need to be in. So these kind of conversations are very, very critical and very, very essential and very, very vital for you to have and for you to be connected with people like this, talking like this, so you can start to soar, and that way you can learn how to live with your judgment of yourself and the judgment of others. That's what I want to encourage you to consider on tonight. Let's learn how to live with the judgment, and let's not allow the judgment to take us out. Let's not allow the judgment to help us or make us into versions of ourselves that we was never supposed to be. Let's not allow the harsh judgment that we put on ourselves for not finishing what we started, for not making certain choices, for blaming, for wishing that we would have did this, that, and the third. Let's not allow those harsh reminders to keep us captive, because that space in those moments, in those times, don't set us up for the rest of our lives. They don't. They cripple us. They imprison us. They weaken us. And the older we get and the more we stay in those spaces for lengthy periods of time, we get sick. Our body starts to go through these various changes and challenges, and then we find ourselves not only finding, or rather sitting with the judgment. Now we find ourselves sitting with judgment and a medical complication. Now we find ourselves sitting with the judgment and relationships where people only want to talk about pain. They're not talking about possibilities and visions in God and breakthroughs and blessings and newness. And that's what you want for the rest of your life so you can live your best life. That's the kind of conversation, that's the kind of mindset that you need to have in order for you to live. Because if it ain't there, you go into the grave early. You go into the grave with all that power inside of you never unleashed. You go into the grave with books and conferences and you could be employing hundreds of people and feeding families and making a difference in the lives of so many people because you got all that stuff inside of you, but you can't seem to shake the judgment. You can't seem to let it go. Every time somebody gives you a solution, you give them a problem. And that's not what you want to continue to do. You want to start to be assertive, aggressive. You want to continue to apply yourself. You want to execute. You want to follow through on what it is you said you was going to do. Even if everybody around you ain't doing it. Even if everybody around you is not believing in you. Even if everybody around you is laughing at you. Even if everybody around you don't think that it's going to happen. You still have to continue to push yourself and not allow that judgment to make you just like everybody else. Because let me tell y'all something for the last 2 minutes. I refuse to be like everybody else. I refuse to be like everybody else. I'll be damned if I be like everybody else. I will not be like everybody else. I will not be the person watching everybody else's life soar. And I mean soar out here. And I'm the person watching them entertained by their soaring. And I got this power of God inside of me that I'm just letting wither away because I'm getting sick because guilt and shame is killing me. I refuse to let that be me. And I want to encourage you tonight to don't let that be you. I don't care if you got 3 people that believe in you or 1 person believe in you and you don't got millions of people. You ain't got the finances. You ain't got the houses. You ain't got the cars. You ain't got the 700, 800 score of credit. You ain't got all of that. But let me tell you something about my God. He will turn it around for you. All you got to do is keep getting up every day executing what it is that he told you and showed you. And don't let that guilt, don't let that shame, don't let that pain, and I want to encourage you tonight, and don't let that judgment take you out. Oh, don't let it take you out because God will turn it around. The people will go from laughing at you to saying, can you hire me? They will go from talking about you to saying, I can't believe he did it or she did it. But you got to hang in there. You got to continue to press. You got to continue to fight. And you do that by embracing all of you because your connection with God will trump. And I don't like saying that word no more, but I would say it. It will trump the judgment. Your connection will trump the judgment. Your connection will dismantle the judgment. Your connection will help you rise above it. Your connection will do that for you. So tonight, I want to encourage you. Get a copy of this book. Tonight, I want to encourage you to re-establish your relationship with God. Tonight, I want to encourage you to reinvent yourself. Tonight, I want to encourage you to execute. Tonight, I want to encourage you to be inspired. Tonight, I want to encourage you. Stop having conversations with people who enjoy seeing you struggle, watching you struggle. Stop having conversations with them people. Stop giving them people access to you. And I promise you, you will go from struggling to soaring. Thank you all for tuning in another night. Conversations with Whitney and Dwayne, our podcast show. Thank you so much, Kiana, for calling in. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Shout out to everybody on our Instagram and our Facebook pages who tuned in. We appreciate you all. We will see you guys next Thursday for another episode of Conversations with Whitney and Dwayne. Follow us on social media. We love you guys. We thank you for the support. And we will be here next Thursday with another episode of This Power. Peace and blessings to you all. We out.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We jamming? Hell yeah, we jamming. In the